Hello YouTube. Today I just want to cover another Tucson topic in today's video. I attended the Fighting Oligarchy rally hosted by Bernie Sanders and Alexandria or Ocasio-Cortez this March 22nd in Tucson, Arizona. Searching on YouTube, I haven't really seen any other Tucsonans post anything related to attending the event, so I thought I'd break the ice. Now, I'm not trying to come at the audience from the perspective of a Bernie bro. My friend happened to invite me, and as an independent, I just wanted to share my middle of the path perspective and perhaps the southern Arizona perspective with y'all. I did try to attend a Trump rally last fall, but he must have gotten tired speaking or something, because by the time I was able to arrive after work, everyone was streaming out of the door. Anyway, I think the first thing I want to comment on that surprised me was how many people showed up to this event on the weekend. My friend and I learned quickly that we should have probably shown up way earlier to find better parking and allow for ample time to walk to the event. The closest parking I could find was on the side of a street in a neighborhood several blocks away from the event. It was held at one of the local high schools, which meant parking quickly disappeared. The line to get into the event was long. It wrapped completely around the block and down the street opposite of the event. I did miss the guest speaker in the beginning and the guest performers. However, I did get in time to see the stars of the show. Now, there are two different thoughts I had about this. Typically, Americans get politically energized during even years, such as 2020, 2022, 2024, and upcoming 2026, because that just so happens to be the times when we have our federal elections. And the odd number years are typically thought of as the political off-season. However, a lot of Americans in Tucson apparently made it part of their Saturday plans to listen to these prominent speakers. It just goes to show how much political division there is right now. Honestly, I felt the message was what you would expect from one of Bernie Sanders' rallies. He made it clear that he was not a fan of the billionaire class. They definitely tried to appeal to the party's Hispanic base with a few guest Spanish music singers in the beginning, as well as Hispanic guest speakers throughout, such as AOC and Adelita Grijalva. My second thought is, and this is true for both parties, I've always thought, why haven't they just rented out a stadium like the 50,000 capacity Arizona stadium downtown? But then cynical me thought maybe they choose small venues like this so that they can always boast about the overflowing crowds. Anyway, the political rally did have the feel of a sports rally. This event was an opportunity for Americans to express their displeasure with the current administration's policies for the first time so far in the Trump administration. This was Tucson's first big showing out in support of the opposition. There are several issues Tucson faces that are pertinent to the Democratic Party platform and beliefs that it fights for. The Democratic Party's biggest struggles have come with how to respond to immigration issues. Trump has successfully marketed the party as the party of sanctuary cities and open borders, and all the potential chaos that ensues with unchecked illicit migration. Whether you are indigenous, Latino, or an Anglo landowner, someone who is on the proverbial front lines, they can all agree that no one likes it when the southern border is abused as an excuse by immigrants not to go through the proper procedures, or as an excuse by criminal organizations to send the drugs and other contraband across the border. It creates a big burden on resources, and native citizens and migrants don't benefit in the end. However, Americans can also agree that our immigration system and process for citizenship is bureaucratic and laden with red tape. Immigrant rights have been at the top of Democratic complaints since the start of Trump's second term. If whoever is at the top of the Democratic ticket in 2028 can prove to Americans that they can provide a strong, safe, secure border and deter illegal immigration while making the citizenship process more fair and equitable, then they may have a chance at regaining some trust with Americans. Education is another issue that is near and dear to the hearts of many people in Tucson. The University of Arizona, as well as Pima County Community College, have been integral parts of the Tucson community for decades. So, when there is any impact to federal funding to these local institutions, obviously many local residents become worried because their jobs are often connected to either the research going on at those universities, or their jobs are connected to all the students that go attend all of these local universities and colleges. Consumer Affairs consumer research firm did an analysis on Arizona's education system and found that Arizona ranks last in the country when it comes to funding per student at each school. Of course, I think many people are concerned that the federal government is prioritizing cutting back on education funding, because if education is already struggling to be funded at the state level, when there's the lack of federal funding, the education system is going to be in for a shock in Arizona. And Bernie Sanders mentioned that in the speech. He gave a shout out to the teachers and mentioned how they need to be paid more, and we need to have more access to trade schools and colleges in order to get these specialized high-paying jobs filled in our economy. I think another topic that kind of ties into this subject is how difficult it has been for job seekers to find a job in this job market. And that is true for southern Arizona as well as the majority of the country, and increasingly I'm noticing in other countries. How will the next era of leadership address the challenge of finding a job in the modern economy? I'm not sure if an 85-year-old candidate can understand the difficulties and complexities of today's job market, but that also plays into the whole both parties need to find younger generations of leaders who can understand the issues of Americans in general better. Education in different trades and within different industries will definitely help Americans out in their careers. We in Arizona like our individual liberties and freedoms. Washington is on the other side of the country. We're not big fans of Washington interfering within Arizona's affairs. However, I believe Americans in general want a government that, for the most part, stays out of their lives. However, when they need it, when they are struggling, the government will be there for them. And Bernie Sanders definitely made appeals to American democracy and the principles of the founding fathers of our country. Bernie was painting a vision of the future for the audience where Donald Trump increasingly consolidates power within the executive branch and chisels away American democracy and therefore the individual rights of everyday Americans. Tucson is home to Saguaro National Park as well as Mount Lemmon and Madera Canyon, to name a few local natural attractions. The February Doge cuts definitely impacted some employees in the local area. Many environmentally conscious people also call Tucson home. Water is always a concern here, and we need the government to address the potential issue that water scarcity may impact quality of life in the near future if precipitation patterns continue as they are now. I might make a video on this topic in the future. And it's not just an Arizona issue, it is a Southwest issue. And it is one of those future issues that is currently receiving little attention from either party. Democrats have also shown that they are more willing to push for legislation that will help people deal with the heat. This past October of 2024 saw the latest Tucson has ever seen, 105 and 100 degree plus days. Tucson may not be setting temperature records, as in exceeding 120 degrees, but the duration of heat waves and heat in general is lasting longer, leaving many concerned about the effect on the local flora and fauna and on local citizens as well. Democrats are just naturally the party that would enact government policies to help adapt to a warming climate. However, will it be enough to sway Arizona voters? Inflation has been an issue that has plagued the entire country, and especially southern Arizona, is inflation. Both homeowners and renters complain about the prices of owning and renting property. When you go to the grocery store, the prices of everyday products just seem to be increasing and remain high. The news of tariffs potentially increasing the prices of everyday products across the entire economy and or leading to product shortages will be unwelcome news to people in southern Arizona, and Bernie Sanders definitely took advantage of that, accusing America's largest corporations and billionaires of greed and addressing issues like trying to lower the cost of healthcare and education, and in general lowering costs across the economy. Fighting to improve the lives of our Native American compatriots as well as respecting their sovereignty is also top of mind in some parts of town, since Tucson is home to several Indian reservations. The biggest question these groups have: what is the progressive wing of the party going to do to protect the interest of indigenous communities and improve the lives of its citizens? I think many Democrats fail to see that in the 2024 election, it wasn't so much that Americans voted for Donald Trump and whatever negative policies you associate with him, but Americans refusing to endorse another 4 years of the Democrats' status quo, their current policies at that time. Given recent medical revelations concerning Biden, the American people also felt that the government wasn't being fully transparent with them. In the post-pandemic era, Americans have been financially stressed with no idea where to turn next. Young and old bickering at each other, when in reality, it kinda sucks for everyone. If you're a kid, the president is telling you you will have to do with $4 instead of 30. If you're in your 20s, you're wondering how not to fall behind while dealing with massive piles of student loan debt, and the American dream feels unattainable at this point. If you're in your 40s, you have child care costs, your own health care costs, and potentially home ownership costs. And if you're 65 plus, the stock market probably made much of your hair fall out this past April. Meanwhile, the lamestream media continues to push how wholesome it is that grandma and grandpa are returning to the labor force. The current administration at the time, they felt, wasn't listening to their concerns. And as a result, as you might expect in a democracy, the American people voted for the opposite party than the one in charge. And that is how we arrived at Donald Trump. I believe that if Democrats were frank with Americans and admitted that the post-pandemic era has been chaotic and that their game plan wasn't the winning plan, that will be a good start for the American people. It's kind of like an NFL team. Ownership needs to admit that their 2-15 team was a disaster and blow everything up. New GM, new coach, new quarterback, mostly new team. Give the Democratic base a reason to buy tickets, fill up the proverbial stands, and get them to get behind their team. And also, get the independents, the rest of the league, interested in what the team has to offer. If you are a Democrat out there and want to make inroads with Americans, be the Democrat that acknowledges and that isn't dismissive. Even though the Democratic Party is the party of diversity, equity, and inclusion, be the party that includes everyone. Be the Democrat that argues why their policies would directly benefit the person they are speaking to. Be the truly inclusive party. Include the uneducated rural white folk. Explain to them why their policies are going to change the future of their lives and the lives of their children. Be the inclusive Democrat. Don't be the Democrat that alienates. And take the advice of Democrat strategists of the past. It's the economy, stupid. Ultimately, right now, people are focusing how to put bread on the table. Put the social issues off towards the future. I just want to also point out the progressives also had another reason why they would want to visit Tucson. The longtime House of Representative for the majority of the Tucson area, Raul Grijalva, died earlier this year, which means Tucson is going to have a special election that includes former Pima County member of government Adelita Grijalva, the daughter of Raul, versus Daniel Gutierrez, who has an interesting backstory which includes a decade in prison involving a wrongful conviction. In the interest of keeping this video in the center, he is aligned with the Trump wing of the Republican Party. Take that as you may. Anyway, it is an attempt by Sanders and AOC to drum up support for the September 23rd special election. As of May, I couldn't find any polling data on the two candidates. However, it is assumed that Grijalva is going to win a safe Democratic seat. If you made it to this point, thank you so much for giving this video your time and attention. Did you attend a Fight Oligarchy rally in Tucson or in your local area? Feel free to tell us how you felt about it. How should the Democrats go about repairing their image with the American people? Finally, if you liked this content, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and have a blessed day.